Welcome back to Secret Weapons. My name is Mark Johnston. If this is your first time here, this is a YouTube channel where we do gear demos and reviews, as well as studio tips and tricks for leveling up your writing, production, and playing, respectively, a guitar player working out of a studio. If that's the kind of thing that would appeal to you, please hit that subscribe button and stick around for future videos. This is the Harmony Comet with tremolo, and this is a semi-hollow, American-made guitar with a kind of Duesenberg Les Trem 2 style bridge system, although it is not technically the Les Trem 2. It's a mahogany body and neck with a rosewood board, kind of classic 12-inch radius C-shaped neck. Think kind of classic old school Fender Telecaster style neck, kind of nice and round and comfortable, very immediately familiar to anybody who likes kind of a classic feel. It's a semi-hollow body with 2 F-holes and a center block down the middle for a little bit of kind of weight and body in the tone. You have a very simple configuration on the electronics. You have volume, you have tone, and you have a 3-position switch. And an interesting thing, which is the volume pot pops in and out. It's not a coil split though. What the pole does right there is inverts the polarity of the neck pickup, giving you access to an out of phase position between the 2 pickups, giving you a normal bridge, a normal but phase inverted neck, and then a middle position that will give you that kind of like classic out of phase squawk. So this is not going to coil tap and give you single coils like you see in a lot of guitars. It is instead just going to flip phase on the neck pickup. You have locking tuners, a nitrocellulose finish, a really classy looking body binding, and a bone nut. And I just wanted to quickly run through the specs on this guitar so that we kind of got that part out of the way, because I think with a video like this, the much more interesting side of things is talking about the guitar itself. I was really excited when I saw this come out because I saw the release of the hardtail version of the Comet 2 years ago or something like that, and was really smitten with the shape, but just never got a chance to play one. I'm a big fan of semi-hollow guitars with humbuckers. I mean, clearly I've got a handful of them here in my studio. I'm also a big fan of Harmony. I've had the Silhouette for years. I have a Jupiter thin line, which hangs on the wall in my office at home, and is one of 2 guitars that I pick up to kind of write on and noodle on and practice on in my house. And so I was stoked when I found out that this was coming in because I like Harmony, and more than that, I like liking guitars. This is just wood and metal, but we form emotional attachments to our instruments. And there's a lot of reasons that we form an emotional attachment to an instrument. It could be the legacy of a guitar, whether it was an old guitar handed down or a great find in a pawn shop, or we form an emotional attachment because we love the pickups, or we love the neck, or we love the way it looks when it hangs on us. Look, we're guitar players, we're vain people, it's better that we just accept it. And so when this came in, I was ready to love it, and I mostly do. And I want to love it more than I do out of the box. And so I want to talk about both the good and the bad with this guitar, because I think that's an important thing to do in a video like this. And for context, all of the stuff that I'm going to talk about with this guitar is basically how it arrived to me. I have not taken this to my guitar tech. I have not had anybody work on this guitar. The only thing I have done to this instrument since it arrived to me is change the strings, and we will get into why that is as well here in a second. So let's start with the good. We talked about this 12-inch radius with a C profile neck. This is a very comfortable guitar. When I think about the guitars that I love the most here in my studio, very little in my musical world beats out my early 2000s 52 reissue Telecaster. The kind of classic C-shaped neck on that guitar is one of the greatest things I have ever had. It is one of my favorite feeling necks, and alongside it and my Eric Johnson Strat with a soft V, it's probably the 2 instruments that feel closest to going home as far as picking up a guitar and feeling like I could close my eyes and play well. And this neck is reminiscent of that experience. This is a very comfortable classic C-shaped neck that I feel I can both get my hand around really well for chords, as well as get up high and feel like I can play that kind of mid to mid-high register really cleanly and really confidently, which I love. The action also came out of the box feeling great. The fretwork on the sides feels incredibly clean. There's no sprouting. There are no dead spots up and down the neck. It is, by all accounts, a great neck out of the box. Thing I love number 2 is these pickups are great. There's not a lot in terms of specs about these pickups on their website. It really just says custom gold foil humbuckers. But what I can tell you is the gold foil covers look cool. They seem to very clearly be humbuckers in tone underneath, but they are voiced really well. As you heard on the intro track, I feel like there's really great clarity to these. It kind of feels like a humbucker doing an impression of a gold foil, because I love the kind of airy open tone a gold foil offers. This does not sound like a gold foil, but it does sound like a humbucker benefiting from the idea of a gold foil. I think that's a good middle ground, because I don't generally think that gold foils are a versatile enough pickup for somebody to make it their number one guitar unless they are writing music built around that sound. Another thing I love about this guitar is just that finish. The finish on this guitar is absolutely beautiful. Not to let you too far into the inside baseball of editing these videos, but I did just cut out a section of me saying I don't own a lot of blue guitars while looking at this, only to look to my left and see 1, 2, 3, 4 guitars in various shades of blue, arm's length from me right now. But I think the reason I say that is because this is a kind of rich royal blue that I really don't have, and I don't see a lot of in my collection. And it is a beautiful guitar. And that blue with the gold foil pickups, the silver hardware, and all the white accents with the cupcake knobs, the pickguard, and the body binding is just absolutely stunning. And for all these reasons, that these pickups sound really good, that the neck is really comfortable to play, and that the guitar just looks so damn pretty, I want to love this instrument. But now we have to talk about a couple of the things that are kind of keeping me off of that, off of true kind of impassioned love for this instrument. And so let's get into some of the issues that I have with this Comet. Number one is going to be this bridge system. I'm a really big fan of the Duesenberg Les Trem system, but I will say this. The bridge here is a non-rolling bridge, and I really think that that would have been a smarter call for this spec, because something I have noticed with this trem system, and let's see if we can make it happen. You can hear those kind of like pops and squeaks when you play with that trem system. This trem system can be somewhat creaky, and I think it's because of the bridge choice here, and that is a bummer. And I just don't think that that's the right call for this bridge system. Which brings me to my second kind of concern here, and this one I'm mostly not worried about, but when this guitar arrived, I pulled it out of its gig bag, which by the way, it comes with a mono gig bag, which is really nice. Mono gig bags are great. I pulled this out, I tuned it up, and immediately broke a string. And so, concerning first 5 minutes with a guitar, if ever there was one. But I will say this, that was a few weeks ago. I brought it into the studio here, I changed the strings, and I have been recording with it weekly, if not almost daily since then, picking this guitar up and playing it on something. And I've had zero issues, concerns, any fear whatsoever that is like anything other than just a freak accident when I pulled it out of the box after it getting mailed to me. But that break did happen to the bridge. And so I feel like it's editorially important to include that in this part of the video. And I do think that both of those concerns could all be alleviated by me just pulling the current bridge system off and putting on a roller bridge. And the last thing I kind of want to call attention to with this guitar while we are in kind of critique mode is not so much a flaw or something wrong with the instrument, but just a design choice that, depending on the kind of player you are, either will be a non-issue or will kind of dissuade you from this instrument, but I think it's kind of worth calling out. And that is, this is a 22 fret semi-hollow guitar with pretty even cuts on the double cut layout here. And what that means is you've got this kind of like chunky body right here that kind of makes it difficult to get up high on the 22 frets over here. I am, to be fair, not somebody who does a lot of shredding, if you've noticed, and I'm not somebody who spends a lot of time all the way up here in these super high meaty areas of the guitar. But when I was doing fret testing and putting this thing through its paces a little bit more recently, I did notice that all the areas that I usually play, pretty comfortable, but right as you go from that 20 to 22 area, you really kind of got to get around this lower horn here, and the lack of any sort of cutaway on the top and the fact that it stays pretty thick on the back does mean that you are really having to kind of work into this little cove right here for access. So if you're going to be doing some big sweep picking on your vintage appointment instrument, just be aware that you might run into something of a roadblock for your next Polyphia cover. This is a weird place to be in a video like this because I am aware that I just spent a lot more time talking about the negatives of this guitar than the positives. And the problem with that is that I feel like there's more that needs to be said about kind of issues and or flaws and or concerns about something than the other end of the spectrum, which is just, hey, the pickups sound good. Hey, the neck is comfortable. Hey, the fretwork is good. It's easy to say fretwork is good and not have to expound on it. Whereas if you say, hey, the bridge gives me some concern, it just requires more time. And that's why I opened this video with, you want to love an instrument, and I want to love this instrument. And I broadly think it's a very good guitar that I think will probably be a great guitar with a couple of small changes. Because for everything we just talked about, I think it's a very good guitar. I really like playing this guitar. I think it records incredibly well, and you've seen it popping up all over the channel for the last month because I only ever pick up guitars that I think are great guitars for recording. And I think this guitar is well worth it for the kind of person who wants an instrument that has this feel. We actually went pretty far into depth on these guitars with Andrew from Ambient Endeavors and John from Signal Path on a podcast about these guitars a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to link that down below if you want to hear kind of more thoughts from both me and two other guys who have this instrument as well, because I think it's well worth kind of exploring the nature of taking quirky, traditionally janky old guitar styles like the vintage harmonies and bringing them into the modern context as American-made instruments. Because I do think that this is not a guitar for everybody, but I don't think any guitar is for everybody. But for the kind of person who's been looking for this shape, this slightly smaller, shrunken down, semi-hollow style guitar with that kind of gold foil humbucker sound and that very classic style neck, this can be a great instrument for that kind of person. But I am not here to convince anybody else that this is right for them if it's not gonna be. So let's go ahead and plug this back in. We are using the Neural DSP Archetype John Mayer for the intro song and all of our sound samples in this video. We're gonna start by listening to clean tones on this as we move between our bridge pickup, our neck pickup, our middle position, and that phase flip on the neck. We'll then hit a boost and a tube screamer and open this thing up a little bit more. Hear some lead tones, some kind of more aggressive rhythm and rock tones, a little bit of ambience. Then we will kind of play with those volume and tone taper controls. Give a listen to a little bit of that tuning stability stuff. And then we'll close things out with some good old-fashioned ambient guitar. Thanks for watching. Let's get into our sound samples.